you've seen a few videos, or maybe you've seen them. I've put a few up on my channel of some dungeons and some gameplay I've been running with this Barbarian. Um, he's level 62. It's a Whirlwind Bleed build that I've gone down the route of with him. Um, it's quite effective, especially at clearing enemies when they bunch together, which you can do with your three shouts and obviously go berserking. So to give you a kind of a run through of what this is all about, um, although I have several uniques, I'm actually only rocking two on this character at the moment because the other ones just don't synergize as well with it. The two uniques I'm running, which I'll start with, is the first one is Gore's Devastating Grips. The reason for that is, yeah, the boost to attack speed, lucky hit chance, and non-physical damage is great, but really it's the extra ranks of the Whirlwind. And it's the Whirlwind explodes after it ends, which is absolutely huge. I've seen that spike as high as 150, 160,000, which is absolutely amazing for clearing enemies. The other unique I'm rocking is the Butcher's Cleaver. I've only just recently picked that up. I was rocking this here, which is very effective, but especially with the imprint that was on it. But I changed this up here because what this is doing is it's giving me more physical damage, more crowd control damage, and damage against injured enemies. But the lucky hit is that when you critically strike an enemy, you have a 100% chance to fear and slow them for 45 seconds. Now, that is massive because not only does fear and slow cause status effects where they're not going to be attacking you, but especially if you're playing in a team with friends, this is really going to help mitigate some of that damage that comes at the team. I then got the Iron Blood Adventures helm. You'll see a lot of my imprints are to do with bleed and status effects. So this one here, it's great, some really good rolls on it. Okay, I would have liked maybe a little bit higher basic skill attack speed, but to be honest, the cooldown reduction, which is the really big one on here, the barrier regen and the healing I receive, this helm keeps me alive very, very well, which has been excellent in some of the higher tier stuff. I of course have a red gem on this, maximum health. That's the same in all my gear if I can put slots on them, and then I tend to go with extra armor on my rings and necklace. Then I obviously go for extra crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies on my weapons. So moving on to the armor, as you can see, the really useful one here is the 23.8% damage when skills are swapped to a new weapon. I'd like a higher roll on this, of course, and I'm looking out for that, especially because Thorns isn't that useful for me. That was a reroll, as you can see. But 23.8% damage when skills are swapped to a new weapon means that when you're using your lunging strike and doing some great damage with the two-handed mace here, when you do swap over to using your Whirlwind, which is what this is all about, you're instantly doing more damage on it. The boost to all stats plus 15, quite nice as well. I am looking to replace this at some stage with a better roll, but at the moment it served me very, very well. I've spoken about the armor we have here. This has been really, really excellent as well. The berserk duration, extending that has been excellent. After killing an elite, which you tend to focus on, you're getting extra damage. You know, the rolls on these aren't the highest, but for world tier 3 and level 62, they're damn good enough. The imprint, every point of fury generated at maximum fury, grants fortify, really useful at keeping you alive, again keeping you in the fight, letting you dish out that damage and not having to die, revive and figure that all out. These here, these are quite useful. Not the greatest rolls on them, but it's the imprinted Whirlwind periodically pulls enemies towards you. I just picked that up a second time. Finally, it was a really hard aspect to find. So as soon as I get better boots, these will be getting swapped out, hopefully to stack more damage again. That dog really doesn't seem to like me very much. My weapons here, damage to close, damage to injured, core skill damage, all stats stacking. And I think what's really important is add your glyph slots onto these. Get as much 10.5% critical strike damage onto your weapons as humanly possible. You'll see I do it with all of them here. Moving over to, by the way, I only ever use lunging strike. I use this weapon. Whirlwind, I use this weapon. These are here just for stat boosts. which is quite good. So, as I was saying, attacking enemies with basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill. Very, very useful. I use this here then to boost my strength, my damage to stunned, my damage to crowd control enemies. This one here, like I said, the lucky hit, fear and slow is absolutely amazing. The rolls on it are okay, they're mediocre. But like I said, I got almost a max roll on critical strike damage and critical strike chance, so can't be too greedy. Vulnerable damage, damage over time. As you can see, it's all about getting those boosts on, damage over time, critical damage, damage to injured enemies. And it's the same with my three pieces of jewellery here. Boosting strength, boosting damage to swap to new weapons, or stunning a bleeding enemy deals additional bleeding damage. All of this here means that the damage output of this character, this attack number here means nothing. It really is shown in some of the other videos. In terms of the glyphs that I went with in my paragon board, I went down on the right hand side here into Brawl, then I went straight into the glyph slot, which is Exploit. This is huge. I didn't read this correctly the first time. I thought it said it happens once every 20 seconds to all enemies around you, but it's when an enemy, each individual enemy around you, when you damage them, they become vulnerable. So this is instantly locking in that vulnerable status effect, allowing you to do all that additional damage on them. Obviously went up then into getting myself more armor and strength, and then went into the Weapon Master section. As you can see, I'm not very far into the end game. I'm only level 62. This is the Weapon Master. Paragon Paragon board. So I moved up, picked up Hunter Killer. I'm looking to max out the dexterity on that, so hopefully looking for one or two pieces of gear to boost dexterity, because I want to pop Raw Power and Hunter Killer for that bonus on it, the additional 16% here and the additional physical damage here. But this here is very useful. Martial. It gives you, when casting a shout, all the cooldown of your others is reduced by 1.2. I'm currently working on getting my strength boosted up on that because I'll have 3 shouts, so it's really going to help to reduce it, and worked up into Iron Armor. I'm eventually going to work my way up into Brute and loop back over to Weapons Master and back down into Denial and come out this side. But all in all, an extremely powerful character, and I'm going to put up some videos later on running some dungeons, and you'll see the kind of damage this guy can do. Cheers everyone.